Does your technical documentation sound too wordy? Is it inconsistent and sound different depending on who writes it? Does it feel like something is wrong, but you can't quite put your finger on it? Today is your lucky day because Document Right has the solution you need. In this video, we're going to be looking at Vale. Vale is an open source command line tool that enforces your editorial style guide. It's a linter for prose. A linter for programming languages like JavaScript and Python catches errors and stylistic issues. That's the same job performed by documentation linters like Vale. It is a great tool for making your documentation sound right. And it ensures consistency, especially when you have many writers on your team. So let's get started using Vale. So we're going to be working with a lot of commands. All the links and commands are available in a free PDF, which you can download using the link below. So let's install Vale on our computer. I am using Windows, so I will demonstrate how to install Vale on Windows. Let's go ahead and install Vale on Windows. The first thing we need is a package manager, and the recommended one is called Chocolatey. So first we open up our command line. You can press the Windows key or press Start, and you can search for CMD, and that'll bring up the command prompt. You want to make sure that you right click and run it as an administrator. When prompted for user account control, click yes, and there we go. We have our command line window. Let me change the font so that it's a bigger font that you can see easier. Okay, that seems like a good font size. So what you want to do is to paste the following command into the command prompt and press enter. Now this is a very long command. You can find it in the description below. There's a link there. You can click that and you can get this tutorial in PDF format, and you'll find all the necessary commands. So I'm gonna just paste that in and press enter. Okay, there we go. And we want to confirm that Chocolatey has been successfully installed. We do that with the command choco-version. And it returns the version of Choco that we have installed. That's 1.1.0. Okay, that's great. We have our package manager installed. I'm just going to clear the screen by tapping in CLS. And after installing the package manager, we now need to install Vale. So to install Vale, we use Choco and run choco install Vale. And it's asking us if we want to run the script that will install Vale. Type in Y and then press enter. And there we go. We have successfully installed Vale, as it says right here. Just to double check, we can type in Vale --version. And that should return the version number of Vale that we installed. So we have Vale version 2.20.0, and that's it. Okay, so after installing Vale, the next step is to install Git. So let's minimize our command prompt. And in a new browser tab, we want to search for, you want to type in the address git-scm.com. And you can download Git for Windows here. So I'm on a 64-bit machine. I'm going to download that. Okay, the Git installer has downloaded, so I'm going to click on it to initiate the install and then run. User access control will come up, so say yes. And here is the installer for Git. I already have Git installed on my machine, so I'm not going to go ahead with the installation, but just to show you the options that are there, you pretty much want to go with the default. Yeah, just go ahead and pick the default options and go ahead and install it. I'm going to cancel since I already have Git. Okay, so after installing Git and Vale, now we want to configure Vale for the GitHub repository. So what we want to do is go back to the command line. We are back in our command line, and actually let me go to a better folder than the system32 folder. Okay, so now what we want to do is to clone the Vale test repository in the command line. So you want to make sure that you've navigated to a folder where you want to work with. I'm working in a temporary folder. So you want to paste in this command where we're going to use git to clone this repository, which is the Vale boilerplate, and then press enter. Okay, that's going to create a new folder, which you can see if you type dir. This is the new folder that we've created. So let's change directory into that new folder, clear the screen, and we want to type in the command Vale, and we want Vale to access the readme.md file. Right, so you're going to get the following results, right? You see here, it says, warning, extremely is a weasel word, however, is too wordy. And essentially, this is Vale running on the command line. Let's open up that readme.md file and have a look. Okay, so we opened up Explorer. Okay, so we've opened up Explorer, and this is the Vale boilerplate project. And you can see we have the project here. Let's open up using Visual Studio Code. And you can see here we have a markdown file that's, so yeah, this is a sample markdown file. And you can see it has a little bit of text as you normally would with your markdown files. You have some text, you have links, you have like a directory structure over here. So what Vale is doing is it's reading this entire file. So you would write a file like this, for example, you're writing documentation or whatever you're doing. And then when you've written your file, when you've written your documentation or whatever file, you can check it using that command, Vale, and then the name of the file. And then when Vale is run against that file, it will analyze the file and give recommendations. So it's telling us here that on line 13, extremely is a weasel word. And then this is the rule that Vale is using. So these are warnings where it's giving a warning, but this is an error which is treated as more seriously, where it's saying there's too much repetition of the word is. Let's check out the text file again. So we're gonna go to line 13, and yeah, you see here it's caught the word extremely, right? And even the sample file itself is like actually explaining what is going on, right? So this is how you can use Vale on the command line. It's very straightforward. You just write your markdown file as you normally would, and then check it against Vale. Let's move on to other ways that we can use Vale. So we're going to be working with a lot of commands. All the links and commands are available in a free PDF, which you can download using the link below. If you are using macOS, you can use the following instructions to install Vale. First, you need to install Homebrew. In order to do that, you first open the terminal application and then copy and paste the following commands and press enter. After running that script, you can check that Homebrew has been installed correctly by running brew -- version. And this should return the version number of your installation of Homebrew. After successfully installing Homebrew, we then move on to installing Vale. So you open your terminal application and then run the following command: brew install Vale. Press enter. You will be prompted to confirm if you want to run the script. Press Y and then press enter in order to confirm. After the script is run, you can check that the installation was successful by running Vale -- version, and this should return the version number of your installation of Vale. If you are running Linux, you have to first install Linux Brew, and you do that by opening your terminal application and then copy and paste the following commands, pressing enter after each command. There's the first command, the second, and the final command. So after you run these three commands, you can check if the installation was successful by running brew -- version. And if Linux Brew was installed correctly, then this should return the version number of your installation of Linux Brew. After you have Linux Brew installed, it's time to install Vale. So make sure your terminal application is opened and run the following command: brew install Vale. Press enter. You will be asked to confirm if you want to run the installation script. Enter Y and press enter. And then after the installation script has run, you can check that the installation was successful by running the following command: Vale -- version. And as before, this should return the version number of your installation of Vale. Git comes pre-installed on Linux and macOS, So there's no need for us to install it. We can just move on to the next steps. Next, we'll take a look at using Vale with GitHub Actions. So first, we head to the GitHub website and make sure that you are logged in and go into the top right corner here where there's a little plus sign and select Create a new repository. You need to give your repository a name. I'm going to call mine Vale and Github. Okay, so I named it Vale and GitHub Actions, and you want to make sure that it is a public repository, and also click the checkbox for adding a README file, and finally create the repository. Okay, and that's going to take us into the repository that we created. Now we want to click on this green button that says code and copy the link to the repository, right? You can use HTTPS or SSH or GitHub CLI, depending on how you're connecting with GitHub. If you are in doubt, then just make sure that you're selected to HTTPS. Okay, so copy the URL shown and then head to your terminal application. I'm on Windows, so I'm going to search for CMD. And you want to make sure that you are running your command prompt as administrator. Okay, here I am in my command line, and I just want to go into a directory where I'm comfortable downloading my repository to. But it doesn't matter, you can be in any directory. It's just not advised that you do so inside your system32 directory. So I'm going to enter CLS. That's going to clear my screen. Most of the commands that I'm using are going to work on Mac and Linux as well. But instead of CLS, you're going to do Control S or Command S on a Mac. So we have the URL to our repository that we copied from github.com. And we want to type in the command git space clone and paste in the link we copied. So this is using git to clone the repository that we created on github.com. And that's going to create a new folder. We can type in dir and we'll see this new folder that's been created that says Vale GitHub Actions. That's the repository from GitHub. So we can type in cd and then a tab to autocomplete, and we are in the folder. The cd command is the same on Windows, Linux, and Mac. Now, inside this folder, we want to create a directory called .github. So to create a directory, we use the command mkdir for make directory. It's the same on Windows, Linux, and Mac. And we're going to call this directory .github. All right. And we are going to navigate into that folder with cd. And once we are in the folder, we want to create two new directories. One is called workflows, and the other is called styles. Okay, we have created the folders that we need. We can type in dir to list the directories, and we can see here we're inside the .github folder, and we've created styles and workflows. So now what we want to do is to open any code editor. I use Visual Studio Code, but you want to open your code editor and you want to open this folder right here, the Vale GitHub Actions folder, so that that project is open in VS Code. Let's do that. Okay, so we're going to go here, open folder, and let's navigate to where the Vale GitHub Actions folder is, and then select folder. And you'll see the entire project has been opened. We have our Explorer pane to the left here, and you can see this is the README that was created on GitHub. And we have our .github folder with styles and workflows inside it. Okay, so inside this workflows folder, we want to click on it and create a new file. And we're going to name that file vale.yaml. Okay, so we created vale.yaml. And we want to open that file. And it's already open here. And we would like to paste in some code. Again, you can find this code in the free PDF that comes with this video. You can just click on the link in the description below to download that PDF. And I'm going to paste in this code and press Ctrl S to save or Command S on a Mac. So just a simple run through of this code. This is a YAML file that we've named Vale linting. All right, this is a basic workflow that's going to get us started with GitHub Actions. And what we're saying here is on the event that we have a push to the main branch on GitHub, of course, we're going to run the following jobs. We're going to run build, which will run on Ubuntu latest. And that build is going to take the following steps. It's going to check out the main branch. And we're going to run Vale here that uses that dependency file. And we're going to run it with debug set to true. And we are going to use the following styles: write good, the Google style guide, and job lint. Right? And of course, there we are setting some environment variables with the GitHub token. So that's what that YAML code means. So back again in our Explorer pane here, we want to click here on like a blank space and create a new file. That's going to create a file on the top level, and we're going to name that vale.ini. This is a configuration file for Vale, and in it we're going to paste some code, which once again you can get from the link in the description below. And Ctrl S to save. Essentially, this is defining our styles path, saying, hey, if you want the styles, you should go into the GitHub folder, and there's a folder called styles. We're saying the minimum alert level should be warning, and we're going to be working with MD files, markdown files, and we are applying to it the following style guides: job lint, write good, and Google. So this is a config file for Vale, the same way that we used Vale on the command line. And okay, once we have that ready, next we need to create a file that is going to contain some any arbitrary text that we want to run Vale against. So it's this file that we're creating now that is actually going to be analyzed by Vale, and Vale is going to give recommendations regarding what we write in that file. So this would actually be your documentation file. We're going to name this test.md. And inside this file, we want to put some sample text. So any text will do. If you'd like some sample text, we can you can find some in the link in the description below. Okay, so I've pasted in the text and pressed Ctrl S to save. Okay, so we have the text ready that we're going to analyze. We have Vale configured, and we also have the code that is going to run, the YAML code that is going to be run by GitHub Actions. So looks like everything is in order. Let's go back to the terminal. Okay, we're back in the terminal in that folder that we were working in. So let's jump one folder level up so that we are in at the top level of Vale GitHub Actions. And let's clear the screen to make sure everything is nice and tidy. On Mac and Linux, you can press Control L or Command L in order to clear the screen. And now let's use Git to check the status. It should reflect those files that we added, that they are untracked. So let's add them so that they're tracked. If we check the status again, you'll see they're now ready to be committed. Let's keep everything tidy. Now let's make a commit. Okay, so the command is git space commit space hyphen m and then a space and then in quotes a commit message. So mine is simply that this is my first go at GitHub Actions with Vale. So press enter and that means that our commit has been done successfully. If we check the status, you see that everything is good and we are one commit ahead of main, origin main. That's github.com. So let's type in git push. And that is going to push our code to GitHub. Let's head back to the browser and check out the results. Okay, so we are back in GitHub. If we go to Actions, you can see that we have this job that's running. And if we click on the job, we can get more details. So right now what it's doing, it's running that build job and all the instructions in it. So it's grabbing all the dependencies that it needs for Vale, the write good and Google style guides, as well as job lint. And we can see that the build job was run successfully. And there are these annotations. So we got 5 errors and 6 warnings. Right? It's saying you should avoid using the word boy, avoid using man. So it's applying those style guides to the text in the file that we gave it. Right? So it's talking about weasel words, words that are too wordy, and we have the warnings and the errors. So this is how you run Vale with GitHub Actions. So let's actually confirm that Vale is doing this correctly. It says here that this error is on line 19 of the test.md file. Let's actually confirm that by going back to Visual Studio Code. And if we go into test.md, you can see here on line 19, we have the word boy that caused that error to be generated. So this is how you get started with Vale and GitHub Actions. So what it means is when you push your code, it's going to run Vale on your code and run the linter and basically do the same thing in a remote repository that it was doing on your local command line. So what you would do in a normal workflow is you would then look at all those errors that were generated, these ones, and then you would correct them and make another commit and push it back to GitHub, and all these should be gone. So that's it for using Vale and GitHub Actions. So we're done with part 1. where we covered how to use Vale in the terminal and with GitHub Actions. Join us next week in part 2, where we look at Vale and Visual Studio Code. And the following week, we're gonna have part 3, where we look at using Vale with third-party style guides and custom rules. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment. If you'd like a free PDF that summarizes this entire tutorial, please click on the link in the description below. Thank you very much and see you in part 2 next week.